at the time of this writing, owning slaves was so widespread that fully half of the population was comprised of slaves. And people, you know, the way the law worked, you could kill the slave, you could do anything you wanted with the slave because it wasn't seen as a person, it was seen as a possession. And so with half of the population being in slavery in some capacity, and as Paul writes this, you know, basically what we see here is, well, you reasonably could say fully half of the church, most likely, were slaves. And so intensely practical stuff. This is area where, you know, this issue of submission, it would have significant implications in the church. Now, our modern equivalent to this, as we read through these verses, we don't have slavery today, but we do have employer-employee relationship. And some of you employees, you're like, I feel like I'm enslaved, you know, to the employer that I work for, or whatever the case may be. All my employees are sitting in the back. They're like, yeah, that's the way we feel. No, they don't. But at any rate, that would be the modern equivalent. So, and here's the thing. God just doesn't care about what happens when we die. He cares about what happens when we're alive. And God doesn't just care about what happens in the church. He cares about what happens in our lives because we are the church. And so, again, this very intensely practical, very precise. God has exhortations for those in authority, the boss. He has exhortations for those under authority, the employee. And listen, the Bible makes it clear that there is an established order. That's what we need to understand. There's an established order of authority that God has established and to which we are obligated to submit. Romans chapter 13, verses 1 and 2 says, "Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves." Now, I want you to notice that word authorities that's used there is in the plural. And the point is that there are many God-appointed authorities to whom we are to submit. And James 4:7 says that we're to submit to God, that He is an authority in our life. Ephesians 5:22, wives, submit to your own husbands as unto the Lord. So there is that authority that God has established. In 1 Peter 5:5, here in Ephesians 6, verse 1, it says that the younger people are to submit to their elders. Children are to obey their parents. And so there is that level of authority that God's established. And in Hebrews 13:17, it says that Christians are to be submissive to their spiritual leaders. So again, another level of authority. And here in verse 5 of Ephesians chapter 6, the Bible adds that we're to submit to masters, speaking of the employer-employee relationship.